Okay, hey everybody, Josh Santos here, and I'm with Ann Sieg. If you don't know Ann Sieg, she's been in the industry for quite a while, and her story is pretty amazing. I just want you guys to really wrap your head around what's going on here. She has something that's very, very beneficial for you who are starting in the network marketing industry or internet marketing industry out there. She has something as well called the Attraction Marketers Manifesto, and if you go to her site andseeg.com, you guys can download that for free. Tons and tons of value in there. I read it a couple years back, and it was something enlightening for myself when it came to my marketing. So, Ann Sieg, how are you?
I'm doing awesome. Thanks for having me here.
Absolutely.
Excited to share information and help folks out.
Absolutely. Sounds good. Sounds good. So, without further ado, I just wanted to get, number one, a background on yourself. You can tell the story better than anybody else, of course. And I just wanted to ask you, what is DMC about, after you just share a little bit about yourself.
Okay.
Cool.
Well, I have a long history in direct sales. I actually started when I was pregnant with my second child, so that'd be 27 years ago. And it was with Mary Kay, a very well-known cosmetic company, especially, it really helped start the whole direct sales industry quite a bit. But all to say, so I did that and a whole number of home party plans over the years while I was raising my children. I did Avon. I did a lot of home party plans. I've also done other business. We have done real estate investment, and my husband and I owned a windshield replacement business as well that we had for 12 years, primarily when we were raising our boys. So lots of background in business, but it all kind of came to a point in time. It was back in 2002 when my eldest son sponsored me into an MLM, network marketing company. I prefer to call it direct sales so that people don't get all flustered. What does MLM mean? And then we don't have to go into that big discussion. But, direct sales is direct sales. It just means that you're moving products.
Right.
So anyway, so that was in 2002, and I did quite well retailing the products because I really, really enjoy sales. I think sales is fun. It's kind of a game, so to speak, for me. I just see it as it's a game. You want to be good at your game. You want to get good results. So I see sales in that light, but it's also very fun. Just a little sidebar on that. When I was 7 years old, the way I had my first experience in sales was I was knitting homemade Christmas bells. My grandma had taught me to do, and my mom suggested I go out around the neighborhood and sell my Christmas bells. So I was 7 years old. I put them in this cardboard box, and I went out and I sold them for, I think it was 50 cents a piece or 3 for $1.
Nice. And
I sold every single one of my Christmas bells. So that was a very favorable experience. I didn't know it was called sales or, there was no training. All it was, my mom said, well, you're going to need some quarters for exchange, if they have dollars. And I came home as this little girl, and I remember shuffling that box, and it had this sound in it. It was a sound of coins and paper, dollar bills. And it was very favorable for me. But anyway, so back to 2002. So what happened is I did really well in retailing the product, but not so well in the whole development of a sales organization. It's really difficult because a lot of the folks wouldn't do what I was doing, and I just went all out. I did things that most people would just would never do. You don't hit on perfect strangers and all that. So you have to be super driven,
right,
and motivated to overcome those uncomfortable, that is an uncomfortable situation when,
right,
when you're hitting on perfect strangers. So anyways, I got stalled out, and that's when my son, who had since gone on into affiliate marketing, said, Mom, you should go online. So that was in 2004, and that is what changed everything for me.
Nice.
Now, that's a full decade ago. That's 10 years ago, and I kind of chuckle when I hear, and there are companies that are very strict. They don't allow their people to market online at all.
Right.
And I think it's really kind of a nice, antiquated, silly notion. But the real world is this, because I've been building out some new funnels and working the phone quite a bit. And I know full well what those people do, just like I do, probably just like you do. For me to check that person out, I do a Google search.
Right.
Or I search them on Facebook or whatever. It's simply how we verify data these days.
Right.
Is we look the person up. So, I mean, for companies to say you shouldn't market yourself online, I understand relative to their rules that they don't want their company brand online. I sort of get that because they have to protect that people aren't saying ridiculous claims, and
right.
have to govern and watch over all that. I totally understand that.
Right.
But everyone needs to be marketing themselves online. Back then, that was kind of our more big, bold splash in the industry when I released my book, The Renegade Network Marketer,
right.
in 2007, for which I kind of proclaimed this news that you don't have to chase people down anymore. You can now set yourself into a position
right.
where people can find you. Well, if you're not online, you are not going to be found.
Exactly.
And you really need to be online to shore up the credibility when you're on the phone. I always find it very odd if I'm talking to, if it's an attorney or whomever, a professional, and they're not online. To me, that seems extremely odd. Why are you not online?
Right.
You're like an anomaly now.
Right.
If you're not online, you should shore it up. Exactly. Your business card, I have one from an insurance adjuster, your online presence is your business card.
Exactly.
So in any case, so in 2007, I released my book, The Renegade Network Marketer, which is a business primer, and it really builds the case for why you want to set up a sales funnel and, be all positioned to have leads come to you and bring them into your sales funnel. And if anyone is wondering what a sales funnel is, it just simply means people consume a series of messages that you've laid out in advance. And, if they like it, they self-select and they move forward until they maybe consume, who knows, 5, 6, 7, 8 messages, whether that be emails, Facebook posts, a squeeze page, a sales letter. I mean, there's so many different marketing pieces you can have out there. But all to say, rather than you doing the one-on-one conversations on the phone, which are very time-consuming,
right.
when you set your pieces up online, it gives you leverage. That's really the main thing is what we're doing here, is we're setting up ourselves for scalability.
Exactly.
By virtue of having these little salespeople, if you will, running around on the internet on your behalf because you did this work initially, so that when they come to you, they're an 8, 9, or a 10.
Right.
So that's why we go through this work and effort to do it. And it happens to work really, really well.
Yes, it does.
Okay, so that brings me to the Daily Marketing Coach. So you use the acronym DMC, that stands for Daily Marketing Coach. There's a long story between what happened in 2007 when I released my book, The Renegade Network Marketer. Attraction Marketer's Manifesto was rolled out about March of 2009, so 2 years later. And now Daily Marketing Coach was made public in 2012, March of 2012.
Awesome.
So it's been 2 years. So here's the deal. Here's the history. I have referred people to a lot of different programs and products and services.
Right.
As I talk about in my book, in the Renegade Network Marketer, this model is that, and what I teach is when people come to you for something, and in my case, how to get help building their program, their MLM, their direct sales company, their small business, they're an attorney, whatever. Well, subsequent to that, they're going to have many other needs.
Right.
They just are.
Yeah,
and there's a lot. When you get into business, there's a lot of different things you're going to need, aside from everything you need for marketing.
Right.
So my whole business model is, well, why not service them and then get referral income out of that as well?
Right.
So, okay, like I use a software called eNounce because I consume a lot of videos. So eNounce is this little software. It's an affiliate program, and I can speed it up and listen to stuff 2 or 3 times faster.
Oh, nice.
So it's a little affiliate program. So I have that, for example, in the back office of the Daily Marketing Coach because I know a lot of my people are going to want to speed up to watch videos.
Exactly.
That's just an example of side or referral income aside from what might be my primary income.
Right.
Okay. So all to say, back to my point, is since 2007, I've referred people into a lot of other programs, and yes, even training programs. Here's always been my problem with that. And maybe some of you will be able to relate to it. Things change.
Right.
So when I've referred people into these programs, stuff happens. And in fact, I tell people, right into your business plan, things are going to change.
Oh, yeah.
Things are going to change. So, for example, I promoted a program in 2009. We did a $1.2 million launch, and things changed. And I had to take my ship as the captain of the ship and saying, we're leaving that island, and we're going to go for a different island.
Right.
And I can't tell you how many times this has happened. So all this say, the way DMC got started is I was referring people into a top-tier program in 2011. And we did really well, and we rolled out our proprietary webinar system, which is a really big hallmark of my Daily Marketing Coach program, is the fact that we also provide a marketing system, and it's unique, it's proprietary, and it works really well. So what happened in 2011 is we did extremely well with this top-tier program. Top-tier simply means it's top dollar. The products range from $2,000 on up to $40,000. So there we are. We provided a complimentary marketing system, and we also provided a complimentary team training back office.
Awesome.
And that then became Daily Marketing Coach. Because, drum roll, what happened? Something happened to that top-tier program. And we were only about 7 months into it. You know, after pouring in all the resources, and I have a team of 8 people. So, I mean, literally tens of thousands of dollars went into that because I pay a staff of 8 people and this, that. And just when we're rocking and rolling and we're like, man, this is awesome. Boop. They go and they make a whole bunch of changes. I could do a whole webinar or teaching on that, just when people start to make changes. All to say, they got so lost in their changes, they didn't know what causes what, created what effect. And when you're doing marketing, when you're doing testing, the more variables you change, the quicker you can get lost in knowing what is doing what. And before you know it, you're lost in the woods. That's essentially what happened with that program, amongst other things. So all to say, we're like, okay, here we are. How many times has this happened? And my staff was like, you know what, we're over it. We're over it. Referring people into these other, especially more known as continuity programs, training programs, that just go funny on us. Time after time after time. It's just the history of our industry. It's just the history. So that is when we then took what was a private team training site, which was proven. That's the thing about it. It wasn't theoretical. It was proven because my people were hitting the leaderboard too, not just me. But my people were hitting the leaderboard with the way I taught them, which was fairly converse to what the company was teaching them. I teach my people, always without exception, to own and control their own assets. It's what I talk about in the Renegade Network Marketers. So primarily, that comes down to your list. You know, learn to build a list. Start to, yes, you leverage off an existing system. Absolutely. Because it's way too difficult to start right at the beginning with everything. So when it's appropriate, leverage off a system. Okay? Now, I have some people coming to Daily Marketing Coach. One gal comes to mind. I just interviewed her. We do these DMC Star of the Week interviews. Her name is Janan Derso. And she's this herbal, well, she calls herself a self-care revolutionist. Revolutionary or something like that. Anyways, she's been all over the world for the last 15 years, and she actually creates her own products. Her own essential oils. I mean, I think it's just marvelous. I said, hey, let's see if we can't get you into Whole Foods. You know, but anyway, so I asked her in her interview, so were you online? What brought you to Daily Marketing Coach? She said, no, I wasn't online at all. But she knew she needed to get online, so she talked to a good friend who said, you need to be in Daily Marketing Coach, and you won't need any other program. Just join Daily Marketing Coach. So she's been with us for about, I don't know, I think about 7 months now, and her interview is fantastic. I mean, she's getting customers on a daily basis, but she learned everything that she has through the Daily Marketing Coach. So she hadn't gone through more so what typifies a lot of the people who come into Daily Marketing Coach. You may be able to relate, Joshua. Is they've gone through numerous programs. And I'm not saying that's bad. I have been through numerous programs. But what becomes difficult is they don't have this bird's eye view to really understand how everything gets pieced together. It's kind of more like they have this one-off lead gen thing, and they have a this. They've gone to live events, and it's just kind of like this big jigsaw puzzle. And now I'm saying this only by repetition because I've interviewed a number of people, and Many of them say, well, Ann, I bought this and I bought that, and it was all these jigsaw puzzle pieces, but I didn't even have the corners to the jigsaw puzzle, not even the corners. And so when we designed Daily Marketing Coach, it was set up as an achievement system, for one. An achievement system is simply recognizing your progress through the system. So when you finish a video, you hit, I'm done. And then it shows up and it'll chart your progress, 1 out of 7. Let's just say it's on the mindset training or the blogging setup, whatever it is. And so there's a tremendous amount of intelligent design behind just the actual setup programmatically. How the coding of how it's set up. So there's that achievement system aspect. And the other part is we set it up to be very linear, both linear in the way the mind works and processes information, also in the actual learning style, or I should say the learning formula. I'll talk about that in a moment too, if you remind me. The learning formula. And then also relative to the whole, how do you set up a business online? Because that's really what's mainstay. Because we get chiropractors, we get dentists, I had a top surgeon from, I think it was John Hopkins University, a top surgeon. I mean, so it's a whole gamut, but of course I get mostly network marketers and affiliate marketers. But so we set it all up with the scope of what is a marketing sales funnel. So what we start with is actually mindset. That's what we start with. So that's going to take me now into the teaching formula. Should I dive into that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Or I should say the learning formula. And the reason I think so deeply on this, the whole how you set things up and how you deliver it and the entire experience is so key so that people can learn quickly, which then leads them into implementation. Is because I have a teacher's background. I was a coach for 15 years in the sports world. Both my parents are teachers. I homeschooled my kids for 12 years. I'm always teaching. So I'm always fascinated about how can we help them learn faster? How can we help them learn better? How can we help them implement better and get better results? That's the whole focus that I get enormously intrigued about, rather than, well, here's your stuff. I mean, come on, have at it. See how you do. So the learning formula is, it starts with mindset, so the fertile ground up inside your brain, you know? And it varies a lot. And it's a lot based on proper expectations. When people don't have proper expectations and they've been led to believe a certain outcome, and when that doesn't happen fast enough, that leads to some negative emotions. Maybe some blaming and finger pointing and all sorts of things. So mindset is integral, and it needs to be ongoing because it's a battle. Business is not easy. Business is the sport of champions, and it's a very difficult space to be in.
Yes, it is.
It's not for everybody either. So mindset, and then the next part is what I call assimilation. They're going to input a lot of data. That's just the start of the learning process, is inputting. So you're watching videos, for example, and how you input is really critical, and that moves you into the processing. How do you actually process the information? A lot of people don't know how to do processing. So we have to teach that skill set of processing because they're not necessarily good students. You know, being a student is a skill set.
It is.
Not just to input, but then how are you processing it? And then we go on into implementation. See, so there's a lot that happens before you even get to implementation. But then after implementation is the most important of all. Because they'll say, I did it, but it didn't work. Have you ever heard that? You know, I'll read a review online and, oh, I tried that and it didn't work. There's a reason. So this is really the pinnacle of Daily Marketing Coach, and there's so much more to shine a spotlight on, but we call it the check and adjust phase. So, I mean, I've done many marketing funnels, and here is where for check and adjust, for example, I've already had 2 mastermind calls this morning with 80/20 staff members of mine, because we're testing out some new funnels. So it's like, you know, what did you do for your one-off email, Ann? Well, I'll send it to you. Well, I'm looking at the data here, and, you know, we're data-driven, because without data, you can't make proper corrections in what you're doing in your system. You're not getting feedback. You know, so a lot of people will conclude after they told me to do thus and thus, and I didn't get leads, so therefore it doesn't work. We test, and we test, and we test, and we test. And we're very data-driven. that is a mindset. That is an understanding and a skill set to know, well, let me look at the data. Without the data, you can very often come to very faulty conclusions, and you're modifying and changing things that have absolutely nothing to do for what would really create a different outcome.
Exactly.
Is this making sense?
Yes, it is.
So that's what the whole check and adjust. So a lot of our system is developed in that way. We have like 5 different points of check and adjust. So we have our group page is one of the biggest.
Right.
We have an Ask the Coach feature. They can submit a question. Then I do a video. Those go out Monday through Friday. We have small group support calls that are almost every single day of the week, sometimes 2.
Right.
So they can show up and ask and get feedback. We have as high as in our TFI, our elite mentorship group.
Right.
They actually are doing accountability reports every week, and I do a video review.
Nice.
I do a video review of the entire, accountability report. So it's, and then too, we have what's called daily check and adjust in the highest level mentorship group. So it's feedback, because a lot of times they don't even know quite the things to ask for.
Right.
For proper feedback. So they've got to be guided in that way. So it's really an environment that's set up for maximum education and creating an environment that feels safe. I think we touched on that the other day.
Right.
And then so maybe I'll talk about that for a minute.
Sure. Yes, absolutely.
So I've been in different groups, or you can just observe even following people's profile pages and the like. And I work with adult learners now. Cool. I spent 15 years working with children. I was a sports coach. Now here with adult learners, I bring people into my space who have very, very high accomplishments. Like I mentioned, the top surgeon at Johns Hopkins, but they don't want to be treated in a way where they feel belittled or stupid, or when there's a lot of ego flexing in a group page and this kind of a thing, that you then start to clam up because you don't want to ask a stupid question.
Right.
And I mean, if you just harken back to grade school and the horror stories that kids have for being made fun of, you had a bad teacher who didn't know how to properly educate, so in their frustration they would belittle the kids.
Correct. Yeah.
That's pretty common in the school systems.
Right.
That's actually reflective of a very poorly developed teacher.
Right.
They don't have enough advanced skill sets to know how to break things down for the kids and the like. But the learning environment is so key that people can feel comfortable to ask questions, to get engaged, and that they're not going to be put down and the like, or that, here comes Mr. Big Joe, and watch Mr. Big Joe flex his muscles. And developing a strong leadership group takes a tremendous amount of care and attention.
Right.
They never just happen.
Right.
Just like raising good kids.
Absolutely.
That doesn't just happen. It's like raising a garden. It has to be carefully tended to. Correct. And that's the same with the group page. So our group page is a leadership group. It's a mastermind group. And then it scales into where we have a separate group for our TFI members, Total Funnel Immersion members. But I'll stop and take a breath, take a sip of coffee, and anything you want to reflect back on?
Yeah, no, it's when it comes to the mastermind group that you have and making the setting in where someone completely new, no matter what their background is, they could be a top surgeon, they could not be a top surgeon. It's very important for them, because I've had people in these roles where they're working and they're top salesperson in whatever company, top producer, and they come to me and they say, I don't know what a lead is. And it's incredible to see that, and it's kind of a kind of an eye-opener, saying, okay, so there's a structure that needs to be put in place in order for these people to go from point A, point B, point C, so they can do it correctly. And they're not even brought to the stage in where, okay, your thinking process needs to be like this in order for you to realize what happens after you're creating a lead. After, and let alone creating 50 leads a day, 70, 100 leads a day, where I've seen a lot of people do it. They'll buy a solo ad here and there, or they master PPC, pay-per-click marketing. it's very, very important because there's so many people who don't know what to do after the lead, or they're afraid of talking to people, and there's so many skills that really mold into, okay, now you're creating a business at a steady pace, or now you know what the significance of a lead page is.
Right.
Very, very important for people to realize. So I just wanted to touch on that subject, and it's awesome for people who are listening to this call, and I'm sharing it around like crazy because this is very, very important for people to realize. I want you guys to take a look at Ann Sieg's program. It is very, very important, and I know that there are a lot of people in different companies or different systems out there. Ask yourself, are these companies really making the point and explaining step by step the significance of what you're doing, not just what you're doing, but the significance behind it and how it all ties into actually making, at the end of the day, what we all like to make, a sale. So very, very important to ask yourself these questions when you guys are out there promoting whatever company it is that you're promoting, doing the daily marketing strategies that every other company may teach you to do. Not saying they're right or wrong, but the explanation and significance of these strategies and what these things are is very, very important. And I haven't seen these explained anywhere else aside from DMC. So, very important.
Well, I think that's interesting you point that out. I'm a why person.
Right.
My husband will say, you're always having you need to know why. That's because I'm much more apt to follow through with instructions if I understand why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Correct.
Whereas if I'm just told what I can do it, but I'll have much more of my mental energy, my intellectual forces will line up much better if I understand why I'm doing it, and I can do a much better job of it, rather than just being told to do it. If I understand the reason behind it, I can get behind it in a much more fully engaged manner than if it's just, well, just do it. I just don't operate that way.
It's so much more productive. You're in the zone and you understand why. Very, very rarely will you find that in the industry as a whole. Because as you and I know, there's a new product out there every single day of the week. It's coming up so much quicker because people are understanding how to create leads. And I always say, sure, you could create hundreds, thousands of leads a day. If you don't know what to do with them, it's pointless. And you could rely on a system to do the prospecting or do the seasoning, as I call it, for you, and hopefully create a sale. But if you don't know the significance behind why it's doing that for you, it's not. What if that company flukes out and flunks, just like it happened to you, and it's been happening, to me in the past? What if that company just cashes out and decides to leave? What are you going to do with the skills you've learned? Have you learned any skills? That's very important for you to understand, for everybody watching or listening to this call right now. Very important.
Yeah, you have to be able to repeat that. And if you don't have full control of that to know how to repeat it, you're kind of left back at home base to an extent of not having gone through that full mastery. And there are a number of skill sets involved here.
Oh, yeah.
Like say, it's one thing to generate a lead. It's a whole other thing to convert it into a sale. Quite another thing to do that. Optimizing the funnel, working the phone, that whole kind of a thing. The other thing I wanted to point out that I believe makes DMC unique is that we truly want to set up people to become independent. And in some ways that can sometimes work, I don't want to say adversely, but we really accomplish the job so well, as my good friend who's working with me in DMC now says, and you do such a great job of helping people to become independent and empowered.
Oh, yeah.
Truly independent of daily marketing coach. I mean, I watch them go on, and they go on to amazing heights. That's really the whole goal, is they become so strong and independent well, oftentimes they end up launching their own programs and the like, and I've ended up being the fertile ground from which they've learned to do that, because I do literally open up my playbook. I do that in our new member orientation,
Awesome.
which is, I open up the playbook, and I have a gentleman who is a life insurance broker. He has an agency, and he said, Ann, I learned numerous points just in your new member orientation to apply into his business. And it's nationwide what he's doing. He said, I now do a new member orientation. I now do check and adjust. So he basically followed my education model, coming into my university of sorts, followed how I educate,
Right.
and he used that in promoting his own insurance program.
That's incredible.
Working with his agents. So even the new member orientation is super powerful. But the other thing is, in our program, I've been in programs where you're set up and then it's like, oh, but now here they're really there for you to pitch their thing.
Right. Right.
And here, we really want them, for whatever their business is to help them grow and build that respective business. I have to stay true to that because, we get these independent professionals, surgeons, attorneys, and the like.
Right.
And I'm there to help promote whatever their thing is,
Right.
Their private practice and whatever. So that's one very strong attribute, is helping them with the business that they brought here
Right.
to help us help them with, and also for them to develop long-term assets.
Oh, yeah.
And I have to say, that's a more mature business owner who evolves to that. But I keep impressing that upon people, because what you're promoting right now may be a fleeting thing.
Right.
In fact, kind of plan on that. Leverage it while you can.
Right.
But be ready to, be empowered and take it to the next level on your own.
Exactly.
So learn to create your own offers.
Exactly.
All this kind of a stuff. That does take more mature people willing to do that. So
Right.
we tend to get very high caliber people as a result.
Awesome. That's great, and that's it shows for itself. If you do get in these high caliber people, that means that you're, number one, doing something right. Number two, teaching the people who are just starting as well how to do this. There are so many other programs that say, hey, if he can do it, then you can do it. And that's good and all when it comes to plugging and hitting play, but like we've mentioned, it's not going to teach you the mentality, the mindset, the steps, and the real steps on
Right.
how to do this. You could follow a step 1, step 2, step 3 in any other program, but really ask yourself, did you know how that happened?
Right.
So
Yep.
it's very important, and I think that speaks volumes, which is why you're attracting high caliber people. Very, very important, and I commend you for that, because you've had a consistent approach to these things throughout the years. Ever since I read your very first book, The Renegade Marketer, ever since I've read that book, on throughout the years, it's been a consistent, this is how you do it. Very step by step, and details in every single step. So very, very, very proud to consider and refer people to DMC. It's very, very beneficial for whoever goes ahead and decides to take a look at this.
And I think people will be well served. They receive far more than what it's difficult to cover everything that we provide them,
Right.
but they'll be very well served and taken care of.
Correct. Absolutely. I full-heartedly agree.
Thank
So,
you.
hey, guys, I wanted to really hammer this in and make you guys realize that this is a program for you, whether it is that you're a seasoned marketer or you're brand new coming into the industry. Ask yourself if, like we said, are these things that you fully understand? If it is that you'd like to understand these things on a step-by-step basis, where you have an accountability going into you can ask for help, and you won't get kind of pushed around and go here, go there, and hopefully you kind of put the pieces to the puzzle on your own. If you want something that's really a step-by-step process and truly a step-by-step process, DMC is something that I recommend 100%. Ann Sieg has been in the industry for years now, and she's never steered anybody wrong. She's been an educator. She's an educator before a marketer, and she says this plenty of times. And that's something that you can say Okay, if she is an educator before a marketer, then I'm for sure going to learn in this program, whatever it is that she launches. So make sure you guys go to annsieg.com and ask or click on. There's a link in there, I'm sure, for the DMC to learn a little bit more about DMC. So make sure that you get there and ask about that. Okay.
It actually redirects annsieg.com redirects to the renegadeblog.com.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then it'll be on the top right is where they can request Attraction Marketers Manifesto, but in the top nav bar, it'll say Daily Marketing Coach.
Awesome. So great. I just wanted to make sure that people were very aware about what's going on. What are you doing aside from what the industry's doing? Because every week, every 2-3 weeks, we see a new product launch, and it's not going to answer the problems. It's not going to solve the problems that people really need to understand. All these programs, and in my concern, could fluke like they've happened to you and I, and what are you going to do then? What happens when you want to start your own company because you have a bright idea? Where are you going to get the tips?
That's right.
Very, very, very important. So head on to annsieg.com and make sure that you guys click on the Daily Marketing Coach link. Very, very honored to be in this interview with you, Ann.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. So, again, make sure you go there, and I'm going to share this around on Facebook and YouTube, and looking forward to seeing it myself again. So.
Awesome. All right. I hope we get to meet face-to-face someday. I think we will.
Absolutely. Yeah, one of your marketing events. When is your next marketing event, actually?
Well, we're looking at September, so I will definitely keep you posted, and who knows, maybe we can do another interview when that comes, and, you could do a little promo for that. And
sure, yeah.
Details.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, they are outstanding. They are workshops. So people come with their laptops. It's not speaker, speaking to the people. We're in work mode the whole weekend. And we have people who have been trying to learn how to put together funnels, who have gone to numerous programs, events, and the like, and they credit DMC for helping them really get their head wrapped around it, and who now have very successful funnels.
Awesome.
So we really enjoy it. Well, thank you again. I enjoyed meeting with you here today, Joshua.
Absolutely. Thank you for putting the value out there. Thank you, Ann.
Absolutely. You're welcome. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.